Hey everybody, what's happening? I'm Tommy, and you are on the lifeboat. I hope you're having a heck of a morning. You know what? I am. I had a long night. Didn't get a whole lot of sleep, people, and I'll tell you why. It had to do with Sean Puffy Combs, believe it or not. Is that A1C or AIC? Laura Lee Smith, how are you? Jennifer Minton, good to see you. Karma Chameleon, what's happening? So, I get a lot of complaints about doing roll call. You know something? You'll get used to it, or you'll show up 10 minutes late. Either way. But this is a channel about the people on the channel, kind of how it works. Laura Lee, glad you're here. Jennifer Minton, glad you're here. Sweet Liberty, what's happening? Shannon Smith, Debbie, wow. Debbie, what? Waki? My sweet Anna, good to see you. Laura, how are you? Audrey, good to see you. Verona Cooley. Yeah, Diddy is keeping me up at night. Pretty crazy, right? Rocket Queen, here I am, your Rocket Queen, oh yeah. Fancy Nancy, East Coast variety. Millie the Dandelion, good to see you. Rose Toes, what's happening? Gemini 65, good to see you. Gemini girl Noel, what's happening? All right, listen, B minor. I'll catch up on some more names. I promise you I will. But we're gonna dive into this one quickly because this is the kind of thing that happens. It happened a couple of times during Danny Masterson, and it's happened already twice now this time. I got a call. I had somebody reach out to me. Armine, how are you? The last time, and say to me, well, you're going to find out that they absolutely found G in the baby oil. And I think we were probably one of the first channels to really run with that. And a lot of people crapped on us when we first put up that video. This was another one of those things where somebody reaches out. And you know what? You don't want to run with something if you think that there's a chance that it's BS, right? So you spend a lot of time saying stuff like, all right, can you prove to me where you work, right? Which is going to require people sending some identification, things like that. And maybe a picture of the parking lot. Right? Maybe a picture of the parking lot where you go to work every day. Snap off something like that, because I know that they're got to be pretty serious about cameras getting inside. They got to be getting tough about phones going inside. Because I'll tell you something, people, we have not seen pictures of Diddy come out. We haven't seen a copy of his ID come out. You realize how clamped down they've got this? Because I promise you, everybody on planet Earth would be willing to pay somebody right now for a picture of that dude's prison ID, right? Promise you that would be something that would be highly collectible. And there are people that like in the old days, these kind of things happened constantly. Drew Peterson used to put in for a new ID about once a week. He was mailing his to the streets and they were selling them on eBay until eBay said that they weren't going to allow that to happen anymore. Lumen, good to see you. Perry Young, how are you? Millie the Dandelion, I'm glad you're here. Ivy's mama, what's happening? So this person says, I'm going to tell you what, I work at MDC Brooklyn. I do not work where he is, which maybe makes you listen a little more, right? What are the odds that somebody that, I would be lucky to have somebody that worked. But I would imagine the people that are working around him are handpicked, and I would imagine they're people they can trust that are not going to be taking pictures or trying to profit off of this. Noel, good to see you. Kiki, how are you? There are people who aren't going to try to profit off this because there's a crap load of profit to be made right now if you tried to sell any of the info that's coming out of there, especially stuff like pictures. I mean, there's channels like TMZ, they pay a fortune for it, plain and simple. Jane Aldrich, what's happening? But here's what this cat said. He said that the word coming down he's in a PC unit. He is locked down 23 hours a day. He does not leave to go to rec. According to this guy, the only time Diddy leaves that cell is when he goes to meet with his attorneys, which happens a lot. But if he's on the tier, he's locked down. He's not coming out for any reason, living in that cell. However, apparently he's been yelling, and this is common, folks, right? When you're locked in a cell, and Diddy's going to be in a single, there's not going to be anybody in there with him. You start going a little stir crazy. And people start having conversations. Sometimes they stand on a toilet and they talk into the vent to the guy in the cell next door, or the guy upstairs or downstairs, or whatever the case may be, right? It's called the pipe chase. You can talk to somebody through the pipe chase. Or people lay down on the floor and they scream underneath the door. And that's how they have conversations. But it's not whispering. right? If you're good at spinning line and you can make a car, we've talked about cars a bunch of times on here. This is something with a weight on it that you throw underneath your door into somebody else's cell. That way you can use the line to put kites, small letters back and forth in the parlance, right? The fellas call those kites. You would not believe how small they can write. And on these itty bitty little pieces of paper that are not much more than an inch by an inch, they will write what looks like a novel. Chances are, if he's never done any time and he doesn't have a cellmate to show him anything, Charlotte, how are you? He's probably in there going, I don't know how to make a car. I don't know how to spin a line. I don't know how to do any of the crap that I need to do, right, to communicate with anybody here other than screaming. But apparently, the fellas have been explaining to him the process of sending cash to the street, what it takes to get cash or to get messages out to people so that you can have moves made. Now, dude doesn't know what he's trying to do, but he was definitely asking people things like how they send cash to the street so that it's not traceable stuff. Now, can I verify it? I'll tell you what, I can verify the guy works there. That much I was able to pull off. Seemed like a really odd story to not have some legs. And I'll tell you something. As a convict, there's no chance in hell he wouldn't be trying to do one of two things right now. Buy himself some friends, right? Or take care of a drug habit that by all allegations, right? Allegedly, he's been strung out on this stuff for decades. And this is not your regular run-of-the-mill guy developing a drug habit. If you have unlimited access to as much dope as you want, and you literally got an army of people that you force to wear fanny packs full of of all the different dope you're on, so that at any time during the day you can go up and say, hey, hit me with some of those, huh? Why are the guys so accommodating to try to help him, says Shannon Smith? I would imagine that it may not be the, hey, Diddy, let me explain to you how cool this is. I bet it's, hey, if I were you, I would send some money to these people on the street, right? You want to make sure that your food is safe. You want to make sure that people aren't messing with you. You want to make sure that you've got some friends around here. Then this is what I would do. I would send $1,000 to this name. I would send $1,000 to that name. I bet it's something more along those lines than the guy's just being cool. Now, if the other option is that he's not paying protection, if the other option is that he's trying to get some dope, if he's trying to cop a fix, he's going to get ripped off. I promise you, he's going to get ripped off, and he's going to get ripped off often, right? As much as, yeah, it would be, you could make a lot more money. Hey, Eddie, you could make a lot more money if you were to continue to sell to him over and over again and do it like that. Not going to happen. Not going to happen, because what will happen is the fellas will get really, really ticked off if they find out that you're supplying what they would deem bad people, right? His crimes now have the stuff he's accused of. And this is allegedly, right? Allegedly. We don't know whether or not all of the stuff that people are saying he did is real or not. I'm sorry, we don't. And I believe he beat Cassie Ventura, right? Anybody not believe that? We believe that because we saw it. Now, we've also been told that there is a whole lot of video out there that's going to show us other stuff, right? Question will become, how much of it are we actually going to see, and how much of it are they going to bury? But this right now, if what they're saying is true, if what they are alleging is a fact, then he is now already in the process of trying to send cash to the street, all right? This dude's he's going to have a very long life of doing exactly this. I mean, if you're starting to pay protection in county jail, I'm sorry. I know this is a federal facility and they're going to call it the men's detention center, but this is pre-sentence confinement. It's a fancy county jail. And I don't mean fancy as in it's nice to be there, because it's a friggin' pit. I mean fancy as in the guys that are there are looking at much different crimes, right? Shannon Smith says there is a video of him beating her. What videos haven't we seen, right? Correct. What videos haven't we seen? And I'll tell you something. What videos are we going to see and what deals are going to get cut? I'll tell you something, people. Honestly, I think that here's some stuff that we may not have talked about here on this channel before. But so right now we got about 130 lawsuits, right, that are going to be brought against Sean Combs for SA or R. And you know what these words mean. We're trying not to get the video banished to the land where nobody can see it if we say the wrong things. But the stuff that he's accused of in these lawsuits, right? These lawsuits are not going to go forward at the same time as the criminal stuff, right? That can't happen at the same time. Do you understand that just couldn't happen? They're going to have to defer to the crime stuff first, right? And here's why. Because you can if you say, I'm not going to take the stand in your criminal case, that can't be held against you, right? If you say, I'm not going to take the stand in a civil case, that's going to be held against you, right? So they can't have him taking the stand and incriminating the crap out of himself if he has to talk about stuff that is then going to get used across the street, right, in the federal building for his criminal trial. So I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of squat, right, except this guy in Texas making a lot of news. I mean, I don't know. People call me a dirtbag. Call me a dirtbag, but read between the lines, because you know what? I don't know, man. You know what this guy looks like to me with the big phone number behind them? Huh? Honestly, I don't get a great feeling. Maybe I did the first press conference. I'll just be honest. I'm a little freaked out now. I feel like what's happening is they're leaking out enough info so that parties involved are already starting to try to, work a few deals behind the scenes. I'm afraid that guy's going to make a fortune, and that a lot of these allegations, which probably ought to end up in the federal court, might just get buried because deals are getting made. I'm sorry. Doesn't it smell like that, or is it my imagination? Yeah. Someone says, hey, I'll pay for protection, right? Hell yeah. If you got the money, the problem becomes you're going to have to pay everybody, right? You pay me. Okay. The guy in the next cell goes, why is he paying you? Right? Because he's a weirdo, and we got to live on a tier with a weirdo, right? So if I got to live on with a weirdo and you got to live with a weirdo, how come you're getting paid to live with the weirdo and I'm not? Okay. So pretty soon, that list of people just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And, apparently he's got the money, right? He's got hundreds of millions of dollars, allegedly. Yeah, they're saying, according to Forbes, he doesn't have that much anymore. However, he's still got a lot more than I do. A lot more. Tommy, how bad is it really where he is currently housed? Thank you. I'll tell you how bad it is. So there aren't any bars. It's not like that. These are metal doors, right? The metal doors have a window in them. The window is about that wide, and it's probably about 3 feet tall. That's the only thing that you can look out, right, to see out into the hall. The windows that you can see to the outside are exactly the same thing. They're about that wide, right? And usually they're kind of hard to see through, but you can see lets a little bit of sunlight through, things like that. The room itself is going to be about 13 or 14 feet deep, like from walking from the time the door opens to the back window is about 12, 13 feet. And then the width of the cell, right, depending on how the shoe is set up, you're probably looking at about 8 feet, right? Sometimes they're a little bit bigger than that, but not too often. These are not big, right? They're not big, and they're not rectangular. They're cut at one angle because there has to be, that's the toilet and the sink combination. So inside this place, which is, again, so what is that? That's 12 feet by 8 feet. Somebody wants to do the math on that. It's not big as far as square footage goes. In there, you have a bunk bed. You have a metal stool that you can sit on that actually swings so that you can put it under the desk if you're working out or whatever, and then it comes back. And there's a little metal desk. They're all the same everywhere. And that's what's inside there. If you were in a regular cell and you were in general population, it would look just like that. But you'd have plastic chairs in there, and you could decorate the inside of it. And it starts to look a little bit more like you live there versus this is just going to be completely stark, right? This is just going to be a nasty, disgusting concrete and metal box. The door's metal, and it has been written on, and it has been carved into, and there are swastikas, and there is racist stuff carved into this that from every jughead that has gone through that place since the 90s when it opened, right? They go in every once in a while and they paint, right? So there's like that much paint on the doors. There's that much paint on the walls. It's disgusting. It really is. It's disgusting. And you got to realize that most inmates in general population clean their toilet 2 or 3 times a day. I'm not kidding, right? You will not find a cleaner toilet anywhere on earth than you will find in a general population cell of somebody that's right just doing normal time, because very often if you get locked down, you're going to be doing your laundry in that toilet, right? There's a lot of things that are going to end up getting done in the toilet. It's not something that, and because you live in a box this big, stuff like missing as a guy and urinating on the floor can get you killed. Nobody wants to deal with that in a really small place. So respect becomes a really big deal. There are gangs that have rules about when you pee, you got to drop to one knee to do it, right? So that there's no way it's going to spray. There's another gang that says they want you to flush the entire time you're going. So that'll keep things from, there are rules upon rules upon rules. But in the shoe where this dirtbag is, nobody lives there. They don't care, right? Most of the people that are going through are only making a brief stay there. And they only let you stay in one cell for 21 days, 3 weeks. Every 3 weeks, they move everybody. The theory being, if you were tunneling out, right? If you were cutting into the angle iron on the bed to make a weapon, it's going to take you more than 3 weeks to cut that, right? So every 21 days, everybody moves, and it's not predictable how you move. Like, yeah, you might move to the right twice. Then they may tell you to move directly across the hall and you're handcuffed through the whole process. It's such a pain in the can you cannot imagine. And I was at the special management unit. So for like 34 months, every 3 weeks, I had to pack everything you got up and move. And then you get over there and you put the picture of your girl up on the wall and you start from scratch doing this over and over and over again. And you know what? It just sucks. It really does. So where he's at is absolutely nasty. It smells bad, and make no mistake, it never gets quiet. When you're in general population, if at 2 o'clock in the morning, the guy in the cell next to you is yelling or banging on a door, right? Or screaming to somebody that's 9 cells away, at 5 o'clock in the morning, they're going to open the doors and people are going to go into that guy's cell and they're going to say, that's never going to happen again. And then they're going to stomp on him. There is a very serious level of respect among all of the races, all of the cars about what happens when guys go in to bunk down for the night, right? It's a respect thing. You let people sleep and you remain quiet at night. In the shoe, they're not opening the door at 5 o'clock in the morning. So the guy next to you can call you every name in the book because you're not going to get a shot at him. They're not going to pop these doors so that you can go over there and beat the crap out of this dude. That's the reality. And for that reason, you get just like trolls, right? Trolls in prison, we call them cell warriors, right? They get behind a door where nothing can happen to them. And they call you every bad name out there. They call you a punk. They call you the B word, tell you they're going to kick your butt because they can't get to you. So they yell a lot. And this crap goes on nonstop around the clock in the shoe. The shoe sucks. The segregated housing unit sucks. That's usually in prison. There is a lot of respect, more than you would imagine. Honestly, way more than there is on the street. Even when they talk about how politics, which is another word for racism in prison, but how politics, how whites and blacks do not mingle. They're not hanging out. That doesn't mean that there's animosity, right? There's a whole lot of pardon me, excuse me, let me get that door for you, that kind of stuff. The level of respect among everybody there is remarkable. And the higher the custody level goes, the more respect you run into, right? At camps, I'm sure that I've never been to one, but I would imagine that it is a lot more loose with things that people say. And at the top custody levels, it's very kind of structured, right? But Yeah, he's in a bad spot, people. He's in a bad spot, and he's not gonna, as it is, unless the Second Judicial Court of Appeals grants this guy the ability to go home on house arrest. If that doesn't happen, he is spending the rest of the time that he's got sitting in MDC. How does he come up with a defense if he's not told who his accusers are? Fancy Nancy, that is an excellent question. And here's how it's going to happen. By the 31st of December, the prosecution has to hand over every bit of evidence that they've got. It's called discovery. They have to give it to the defense. And in that, they're going to say, here's a list of everybody we're going to call to the stand. Right here's a list of all of the pieces of evidence we're going to call in. Those 1,000 bottles of baby oil and personal lubricant. Those are going to be marked as exhibit whatever, right? And all of that's in the discovery. So when they hand it to the defense can then go through there and say, okay, well, so they're going to put Tommy on the stand and they're going to ask him questions. Well, I am now going to go depose Tommy so I can ask him some questions and build a defense based on, right, all of this. But so they're going to find out who the accusers are, but the world's not. They will. And they're going to find out about the 31st of December. Now, if what is allegedly happened, what is being alleged actually happened, then he probably has a pretty good idea who they're talking about anyway, right, Nancy? I mean, honestly. Perry Young says, when the pendulum swings too far into evil, it has to swing back. You know what? Honestly, I think that there's something to that. Thinking While Stitching says, I agree. In my opinion, Busby is looking after himself and will take payoffs to hold the secrets. I'll tell you something. He came out that first day, right? He came out that first day. And if you look at this thing like a gangster, I'm not being funny. Look at this like a gangster. That attorney came out that first day and he said, we're going to name a bunch of names. Over the next 30 days, we're going to start rolling these cases out. And a bunch of names are going to come out. There are a lot of people tonight who aren't sleeping well. Right? He was saying, right? He was sending out a message in advance. Get out your checkbooks. That's how it smells to me, people. Now, has that happened? I'm just telling you what I see. Right? I'm telling you how I see it. This guy to me looks like, it looks to me like this is a way that they can bury this. Kiki, you know what? I've been wrong before, and I'm actually pretty cool about coming and saying when I screw something up. But I don't think I'm going to be wrong on this one. Pat Ferguson says if he's locked up for 23 hours a day, who's going to get at him? And I'll tell you something. Not only is he locked up 23 hours a day, Pat, but for the 1 hour that he would get out, if he decided to, he wouldn't be put in a cage with another inmate. He would be put into a cage next to a cage that had another inmate in it. He'd be able to actually talk to some people or whatever, but they wouldn't be able to get at him and he wouldn't be able to get at them, right? That's just not how it is. So what kind of protection would he be buying? Well, he would be buying things like, according to allegedly, he's terrified about the food. He's worried that someone's going to try to Epstein him, right? He's worried about the food's a big thing always. I promise you, the first complaint of everybody that ends up in jail, especially if you have any kind of a discerning palate. I mean, there are people for whom food's not a big deal, right? You just wolf some stuff down because it's, and then there are people who are kind of foodies, right? And they get really into it. And, you spend a lot of time going to different restaurants and trying different things. And all of a sudden, bam, here's what you're going to eat. Every single Wednesday, you're eating the same thing. Every single Thursday, you're eating the same thing. Every single Tuesday, you're eating the same thing. The variety, there's not a lot of variety. There just isn't. And I mean, if you think about it, there can't be. How much they have to be able to have an entire nation of 120 prisons cooking the same thing every single day. They have to come up with recipes that are idiot proof. Nat B from Canada, good to see you. They really do have to come up with stuff that is just absolutely idiot proof, and it usually tastes like crap. Hey, I love it. Thank you. Welcome to the boat. The victims should be paid before he pays for his own protection. You know what? How can you argue that? How can you argue that? But I'll tell you something. We're going to see a hell of a lot of money getting siphoned off of this dude, and quickly. It's already being called the $100 million defense team. Have you heard this? Right? This is verbiage that's already getting kicked around. This is the $100 million defense. You think that's real? I mean, it's the kind of stuff that's getting thrown around. I promise you, he's got a whoop ass appellate attorney already working, looking at every single thing that's happening, getting ready for the appeal. I promise. He's already got, when we already know he's got an appellate lawyer that he hired specifically to go after the Second Circuit to try to get him out of jail so that he doesn't have to sit in MDC Brooklyn until it's showtime. By the way, 3 times he's been turned down. Normally you wouldn't get 3 shots at that, but they replaced the judge. And when the new judge came in, they got in front of that judge for a bail conference. So, I mean, give them credit. They're fighting for the guy, which is what they're supposed to do, right? They're supposed to fight for their client. Shannon Smith says 96 square feet. Yeah, that's small. You know what? Here's the problem with that. This gets a little harder to do, right? Because right now, we'd like to see his accounts frozen, right? But as Laura rightly points out, allegedly, right? Until this stuff gets proven, can you get earplugs from the commissary? That's a great question. On some yards, yes. On most yards, no. On yards where there is a unicorn, where you're going to be working around machinery, it is very easy to get earplugs. On yards where you cannot, most people make them out of soap and a plastic bag. And you would not believe how good you can make an earplug if you know what you're doing, out of soap and a plastic bag. And you literally, I mean, pack it into your ear so that when it comes out, it looks like the stuff you used to get. I don't know if you ever had kids that got their ears tubed, but the little plugs you had to put into their ears to go swimming. You can actually make a fairly decent one. It's crazy, but yeah, this is going to be a shock to his senses in so many ways. And right now, he's afraid that he's going to get poisoned. Right now, he's afraid that people can reach out to him and hurt him behind a door. And you know what? It's happened, man. It's happened. Non-compliant servants, prison, diversion, deflection, avoidance. What's the real story? World takeover. Tell you what, honestly, Kevin Hawthorne, Lakeland, Florida. Good to see you. The Count of St. Germain. What's happening? Hey, Cheeky. You know what? What's normal? This is something that if you're a thinker, right, this probably has crossed your mind. At least some form of this. Some form of saying this is the Super Bowl, right? This is the World Series. This is like the biggest sporting event that we've seen. The world is watching this in a different way than we've ever watched anything else, in my opinion, right? And in the process, we're not looking at a lot of other stuff. And there are people for whom they believe this is a psychological op, that this is intended to divert our attention, right? Don't look over here, right? And then bam, it could be the case. It absolutely could be, because this really does seem to capture people's imagination in a way that other stuff don't. And you know, we're a salacious people. I think that whether we want to be or not, right? This is the kind of stuff this is Caligula, right? This is the kind of crap that happened with Caesars, right? Bring the men and women in here and children. I'm going to abuse them, do with them what I want, and throw them off a cliff when I'm done, right? Like the kind of crap that you used to read about, terrifying stuff in the time of Caesars. This kind of debauchery seems to be on a level with that, and we've not seen this. So the world is captivated, and it's one of those things that is absolutely, whether we want it to or not, and whether it is an op or not, we are having our attention is being diverted, to be sure. I wonder if defense attorneys ever sabotage their clients because they know they're guilty. Well, I'll tell you something. I think if you talk to any attorney when their career is over and it was just you and them having a conversation, he or she might tell you that absolutely they torpedoed 1 or 2 clients because they knew that they were guilty. I believe that that's probably the case, but it's hard to tell. Can his kids visit him? Ask P. Taylor. His kids can visit him. When you're in the shoe, you are allowed visits, not like regular inmates. Regular inmates get a visit on Saturday and Sunday, unless it's a federal holiday, in which case, like if it's a 3-day weekend, then you can meet on those on any of those 3 days, right? Now, they may do it. They may break it up so that some people get Monday and Tuesday, so that because this entire place has got to do visiting at different times. I know that they have the ability to do some Skype kind of visits where they have MP rooms where people can get on a phone and do this kind of stuff, right? That's a possibility. However, in the shoe, when I was there, Mondays were for shoe inmates. So 1 day a week, we were allowed visits, but you didn't get anything more than that. And although he's not being punished, once you get put in the shoe, they got to treat you like everyone else in the shoe. They can't, the fact that you're there for your own protection, well, that sucks, but you're not going to get your television. You're not going to get what everybody else gets, because the people around you, a lot of them are there not just because they need protection, but they're there because they're bad people. Are his visitations recorded? They are absolutely recorded. The visitations are absolutely recorded, and they will tell you that they are not recording conversations, that they're not trying to do anything like that, but they have cameras that are trying to make sure you're not passing anything or this or that. But I know people when I was in prison who got in trouble for saying something that they were not supposed to say. He said to his girlfriend, and he wasn't screaming it. According to him, he said to his girlfriend, "Why didn't you bring it this morning?" And in a matter of seconds, they had her and him, 2 different places. While I was in prison, I saw women. I don't think ever a guy, but I saw women who got caught bringing drugs into inmates. I probably saw it 30 times over the course of the time that I was incarcerated. And you may not believe this, but I had a girlfriend that visited me every weekend, and I never, ever asked her to do. I mean, to me, that is just the most. Watching it happen, it was always just depressing. You know what I mean? Really depressing. But yes, his kids can visit, but the visitations are recorded, and they also, I'm sure that he's going to get a little bit of leeway because of the fact that his family flies in, and that's not because he's Sean Diddy Combs. Tommy Scoville would get the same kind of action. Like my sister came to visit me only once when I was incarcerated, and it wasn't on a day. She had come into town thinking she would be able to do it on a weekend, and they were doing a rotation thing where certain people had certain days, and they broke a bunch of rules because my sister had traveled a long distance, and they let us catch 2 days in a row of visitation, which was really, really kind of cool. Hold on one second. Sorry. You know what, people, every once in a while, I want to make sure it's nobody that I'm working with who is about to get high or something like that. It does happen. Haven't had a drink in 23 years. It will be 24 on New Year's. Steph, you quit on New Year's. That's the coolest thing ever. Congratulations. I'm telling you, people, nothing will make life better than putting down your substance of abuse. I promise you, it'll change your life, man. It will change your life. Question. The UK doesn't have statutes of limitations. Could he be tried for his crimes he committed here? I know they're investigating here at the moment. You know what, Charlotte? That's a fascinating question. That is a fascinating question. If there's no statutes of limitations in the UK, I would imagine he has to face your criminal justice system, because that's how we treat people here, right? Even if something happens and you're going to at some point come back in front of Uncle Sam, and you're going to have to deal with our country. I would imagine that he is going to have to, if he gets charged with anything, and allegedly there are victims all over Europe, right? Allegedly there are people that are making complaints all over the place. So I would not be surprised. And if there's no statutes of limitations, he would have to deal with your legal system on your terms, right? I mean, if somebody comes to our country, they deal with our legal system and they deal with it on our terms. Ask Sean Atwood, right? He'll tell you. But I think that could be that really could be something that we could see happen, and it would be very interesting, really, really interesting. You know something? 1 year, August 7th. I love it. Good for you. Relapse is a part of it, people. You stumble, you get back up. You don't get judged by how many times you get knocked down. Right? You get knocked down 25 times, you get up 26. Right? It's it. And for some people, look, man, I was 46 before I got my you know what together. And I don't mean that I was a little off. I was so off the rails until 46. You wouldn't have liked me, people. I promise you. You wouldn't have liked me. I was a criminal. I really was. I was a no joke criminal. If you're just getting here, allegedly, Mr. Combs has been yelling to other inmates, trying to learn the hustle, trying to learn how to talk to family members, to talk to whoever, so that, because you can't get on a telephone and talk. If you get on a phone and you say to your girlfriend, listen, I need you to send $200 to Tommy Scoville on the street, right? This is the guy's. You won't finish the phone call. I promise you won't finish the phone call. They will walk in on you while you're talking and go, come on, let's go for a walk. They record every single call, and they've got, I don't know whether it's a computer system, right? An algorithm that listens for certain things, but you're never going to get away with saying anything on a phone, and people are bringing him up, making it so he's aware of how this is going to have to happen. Now, a logical question is going to pop up, because people are going to say, well, what about his attorneys? Because he meets with his attorneys constantly. I don't see his attorney smuggling something into him. I don't. I really don't. Smidge of Snow, good to see you. Annie Oakley, what's happening? Hey, Kathy, 7th, glad you're here. Today is your 114th day alcohol-free. 7th, congratulations, brother. That is awesome. It really is. That's awesome. And you know what? It's a lifelong process, people. It never ends. It doesn't. It never ends, but it gets better. If you keep doing the right things, I promise you, it gets better and it gets easier. And you know what? Hear this? Shannon Smith. Booyah. And this is why in the federal system, if you get caught with a cell phone, they're going to charge you, right? This isn't the state. You don't get caught with a cell phone and you go to the hole for 45 days, right? And you lose rec time, or you lose. No, you're going to go back to court. Like they're going to hit you with a new charge, right? And that new charge is going to buy you more prison time, because a cell phone is considered an escape tool, right? If you wanted to have a conversation with someone and say, I'm going to be on the other side of the fence on the north side of the compound at 9:00, I'm going to need your van there. The way you would want to do that is on a cell phone. So they consider that an escape tool, right? Like a shovel would be, or like anything else, used, a file, anything that would be used to try to escape. They're serious as hell about it, right? That's no joke. And Shannon Smith is right. You can get away with anything. That's how they set up drops. Do you realize how many ways people have been able to get stuff into yards? Just things I've seen. Wrist rockets. Guys would take a black balloon, right, with a lead shot, big ball of lead inside that balloon, and packed around the outside of it would be whatever the drug of choice was, and then saran wrapped. And the thing would be about that big, and they would just wrist rocket it over the fence right into the compound. And the guys who would do grounds crew would get out there first thing in the morning at 5:00, and it was their job to find those black balloons and bring them back inside. Then they would get paid off for their effort, and the yard would be flooded with dope. That they were using drones at a lot of places to drop stuff off. They're getting, obviously, the more high tech the inmates get, the more high tech the people fighting the inmates get. You know what? Shannon Smith says, but he's facing life. He probably doesn't have much to lose. He really doesn't. But you know who's got something to lose? The jackwagon that sells him that cell phone has got a lot to lose, right? Because if you have cell phones in MDC Brooklyn, you're a baller, right? For real. In the terms of being an inmate, you're a baller. You're making things happen. This is a dude that's probably getting paid, right? Because cell phones ain't cheap. He's probably paying $1,500 for a cell phone, right? $1,000 to $1,500. So if people are bringing burners in and they got a way to get him in, that guy's not going to be risking that on Sean Combs, because selling something like that to a dude with those kind of charges, even though those charges have not been proven, man, there's a lot of people that are just going to think that dude is persona non grata, right? NC status. Nothing friggin' coming. We talked about Danny Masterson back in the day and how nobody solid is ever going to help that dude. Nobody solid is ever going to help that dude. And that's going to be the same way for Diddy. Solid people aren't going to help him. There are people that'll tax him. And when they're done taking his money, they'll hurt him. Marissa Robertson, good to see you. I'm not joking. That's how it'll go down. They will tax him until they cannot get any more cash out of him. And then when they can't get any more cash out of him, at that point, they'll attack him. That's usually how it goes down. Is Diddy acting a fool in prison? We don't know yet. Honestly, we don't. And the guy that reached out to me was real honest about the fact that, hey, what I'm getting from somebody that's working that floor. I'm not working there. I'm here in this second. But he is at least shouting and communicating to other inmates. And that shocked me because I didn't think that people would really be wanting to talk to him. The way I see it, more than likely, these are guys who are trying to get cash one way or another, hustling him, telling him they're going to get him something, getting him protection, whatever, offering protection, whatever the case may be. But this has got to happen sooner or later. It's probably been going on for a long time, and it's just that words are now getting out about it. I would imagine the day he got there, it happened. Perry says, hi, I'm Perry, and I'm an alcoholic and an addict. Well, I am Tommy. My drug of choice was heroin. I've been to prison 3 times. Bank robbery, gun running, stolen, possession of stolen property. But you know what? I'm sober today. And these days, I'm living my best life. And I used to think that was such a stupid thing to say. Honestly, I used to think it was the dumbest thing. When people would say that, I'd be like, what the hell does that even mean? The hell do you mean you're living? I'm living my best life. I didn't think it was possible to be this happy, right? Especially without drugs. But to be this happy, period. Annika just dedicated one of my makeup videos to Reese, since I just adore her. Oh, well, I appreciate that. I love that. You know what? I love that. I really do. For those who don't know, that is Reese is my partner of mine. We're also dating for a period, but one of my best friends on planet Earth, relatable Reese. In fact, I think she's doing a show right around the time I'm ending this one. So I'll give her another shout out before I leave because I really dig her content. Charlotte Everett, glad you're here. Laura, thank you. I'll take that. Congratulations. I really will. I've been sober now a really long time, and you know what? I'm damn proud of it. I really am. The things that I did early in my life, the way I look at it, if I don't do something with that, then I can spend a lot of eternity going, why didn't I do something, right? I learned a lot of crap. How come I didn't do anything positive with it? So at least I'm trying, right? That's the best we can hope for, I think. You know what? It wouldn't be the first time I was tagged in a random makeup video. Parlock 480 says, why isn't Diddy getting any drug charges? Oh, but he is. I promise you, he is. So this is going to be, thank you, Millie. This is going to be one of those things that there is so much narcotic stuff in this RICO case, right? A lot of the stuff that we're saying right now, how come we're not seeing this, man? Right? How come we're not seeing this? Or how come we're not? It's all going to be part of this RICO case. And on December 31st, when all of this stuff, they're going to turn over all of the discovery at that point. And I think you're going to see a lot about drugs, right? We know that drugs were found more than once, right? You know what? Thank you, Steph. I appreciate that. How do rats get into the shoe cells? Are there holes in the wall? It's a hell of a great question, right? That's a great question. So here's what happened. Back in the day when they first, and thank you so much for the super chat. But you're going to see drug charges, and they're going to be wrapped up into this RICO charge, right? Because they're going to allege that narcotics have been the mainstay of what he's doing, because none of these people are going into this, I'm sorry, ritual, because that's what it is. Any way you want to look at this, It is a ritual. Every time we hear about another one of these cases, this is how you join the club. This is how we know we can trust you. This is how you break into the business. You were going to get sodomized. I mean, that really just looks like that's how this business model worked. And preferably they're going to video it. I think it was so about control, and it was so about just ugly stuff. So the way that rats get into the shoe, the same way cockroaches get into the shoe. In the old days, when they first put these cells in, you put a guy in the shoe, and the first thing he's going to start doing is starting to try to figure out a way to cause mayhem. And in the early days of all of the shoes in the feds, guys would work on the mortar between the bricks, right? And if you chiseled out 2 inches of it, you could put toothpaste in it. No one would ever know, right? It would look identical. But then anytime you wanted to pass something from one cell to the other, you would just remove that toothpaste, right? And you got a hole directly into the next cell. And this started to happen over and over again until in a lot of the shoes, they put metal on the walls to stop the guys from trying to, right? The problem is they took 2 pieces of metal and slammed it together, and things now live inside those 2 pieces of metal. Also the pipe chases, right? In every cell, there's a toilet and a sink, and there is a little access, right, to get into that. It's called the pipe chase. Inevitably, guys want to rip holes in everything that they shouldn't, right? The vent is made of steel, and there's itty bitty little holes in them, maybe 400 across. It's really small holes. And these are like vents that blow out hot or cold air or whatever. Guys will cut into those so that they can pass contraband to the people in the cell above them and in the cell below them, right? But the more people do this, the more that rodents start getting a foothold into the prison. And you usually can hear them in the walls, right? It's sadly, it's an environment that once they get in, right, anything goes, right? Anything goes. Shannon Smith says, those pew-pews should come first with no serial numbers. You're damn right. You know what that would have done to me? We would have never met, people. We would have never met. I'm not joking. If any of the stuff that I had obliterated serial numbers on it, I wouldn't be out yet. I wouldn't be out yet. They're really serious, right, about not messing with the serial number on a pew-pew. You're better off having one that's hot and taking the heat for having a stolen piece versus having an obliterated serial number, which, by the way, I promise you, they're going to get the serial numbers off of those anyway. No one ever gets away with that anymore. I guess when they slam that down in there, right, it leaves marks so much deeper than you think it does. So that when the idiots sand it off or grind it off or whatever, there's always some process that they can do. I know so many guys who had obliterated serial numbers, and not only did they get hit for that, but they found out what the piece was, and if it had been used in anything, it's anything you're doing to get over on the feds, don't. Right? Don't. Matthew Perry's trial, right? Case. We've been talking about this. The star who was poisoned by ketamine, right? We're talking about that case. Well, the doctor in that case, when he found out the feds were coming, he went, uh-oh, I better put together a plan to show that I actually was doing some kind of treatment to Matthew Perry. Guess what, man? If the feds are coming, just go like this. Put your hands up. If you think you're slick, you're not. Right? They were planning on you doing exactly what you were going to do. And they got him. They got him dead to rights. So now, not only is he going to go to prison, but if there was a shot of the medical board, keeping him, those days are over. But here's the other thing, people. Here's another thing that I don't think we've talked about enough, at least here on the boat. The feds are more famous for one thing, right? Among fellas, among the boys, inmates. They're more famous for one thing, and here's what it is. There was only one drug bust ever. This is a running joke in prison, but there was only one drug bust where a cop actually did his job. Like, figured out someone was selling drugs, watched that person, right? Figured out where the drugs were coming from, like put together a case like you see on the friggin' shows, right? And built a case, and then the person got caught. When that person got caught, he told on 3 people. And since then, they've been working on those 3 who told on those 3. It's like that stupid phone commercial in the 90s. But no joke, right? No joke. Everybody ratting on everybody. The feds like to flip people. The reason, in my opinion, the reason that RICO is such a scary thing, if you're the cat at the top, is because how fast they're going to flip all of the people who are also going to get RICO'd. Trust me, there are a crapload of people that we don't know who are already in there. Their proper letters have gone across. There are deals being cut. There are people whose testimony is already in place to bury, right, the defendant. That's usually how it works, man. They flip people. They flip people fast. Look at the case I was just talking about with Matthew Perry. There were 5 people involved. How long did it take him to get 3 of them to go, yeah, I'll take the 10 to 15 years, right? I'll take the deal right now, because they had lawyers who said to them, you know what's going to happen if you don't take this deal? You need to plead to this, and you need to tell on these 2, and you need to do it fast. So that's how it went down. Meat says, did these rituals happen in the 60s and 70s with all my favorite rock bands? I'll tell you what. It depends on who you ask, right? It depends on who you ask, because there are people out there that will tell you that there have been really weird things happening with rock and roll since the very beginning. And if I tell you, I would sound like a crazy conspiracy theory kind of guy, right? But they described rituals of taking the original cut of your album into a room where just crazy crap. And you can Google this stuff. Don't take my word for it, right? Look up rock stars from the 60s and 70s that talk about rituals, right, involving rock and roll and weird crap. Is it real or not? I don't know, man. I don't. I know that what's happening today is scaring the crap out of me. It really is. It's scaring the crap out of me. And the thought that the people like Clive Davis, right? Clive Davis, look at that old man. Think to yourself, so Diddy was his boy toy? Did you just throw up in your mouth a little bit? This is the kind of crap that's been going on. And I don't care about the gay part. I really don't. Whatever. It flips you switch. But to be able to say, all right, well, I'm going to pick some people to have as toys because they want us so badly to be stars. They're going to do whatever I want them to do. That kind of crap, I think, has been going on. Yeah, probably with our favorite bands too. I don't know that it was as organized. They certainly were screwing artists on the record contracts back in the 60s and 70s. Probably worse. That was probably the heyday of screwing artists, because at the time they really made their money by how many vinyl records they sold, right? And there was a hustle of how they made vinyl records, right? They would press a certain number of them in the U.S. and they'd be like, all right, we pressed 100,000 of the records, and they're out being sold. And somewhere in the Philippines, they're cranking out another 100,000 to sell in Europe. And this kind of crap. I was watching an interview from a guy that used to go and do audits of the industry, and they said that never once was he hired to do an audit for an artist where he didn't find that the artist had been ripped off. Every single time he had been hired. That would lead you to believe that maybe they did it to everybody. I've said, and I will continue to say, this is the largest and longest running crime syndicate in history. Sorry, there's no other way to put it, man. There's almost no other way to put it. Wow. You know something? I don't think I'd want anything without numbers. If you try to think of a way, this is probably a pretty decent piece of advice. Where was that? The original Rat Pack. You know something? It's funny that we say original Rat Pack, right? Because this new group actually, AJ Speaks says the Beatles worshipped with Aleister Crowley. I didn't know that. I don't know that I would be surprised, right? There was a lot of really weird stuff with rock and roll and the Church of Satan. There was some, which a lot of people think was more of a joke than it was anything else. But there was still a lot of people from rock and roll that worked their way through there, right? And the legends go even deeper. I'm sure that someone can tell me something about Hotel California, right? Smidge of Snow says, just think of the original Rat Pack and the crap around the death of Marilyn, right? Booyah, right? Marilyn had, allegedly, she had Mandrax, right? Which was a foreign version of Quaalude. Same drug, called something different because it was made in a different country. But allegedly, she had it in her system, but she didn't have it in her stomach. And that's really, that's odd, right? But if you give it to someone in an enema, which these days they call booty rockets, and there are all kinds of stupid words for this, but there are people who take stuff and put it into them that way because it gets a similar effect, apparently, to what would intravenous without having to break into a vein. That's the theory anyway. I don't know. But certainly there are theories that she was obviously taken out. And I think that there's it's pretty easy to make that. Well, there you go. I think that it's pretty easy to make that argument, right? And for this reason, right? So this has been going on a long time. The classical world has a lot of weirdness going on too. Same kind of thing. New York Philharmonic had a drugging and R situation not long ago. They handled it horribly. You know what? Honestly, can we think of any place where something like this happened and we can say, you know what? They handled that perfectly? What do you think? Is there an industry out there we could say they found out what was happening and you know what? They handled that perfectly. Yeah, I won't make any friends. You know what? You know what industry we can say honestly handles it pretty well? Right? Inmates. Inmates. When something like that comes out and the fellas find out about it, they usually do a fairly good job of taking care of it. And more often than not, that person isn't going to do it again. Certainly they're going to think twice, right? They're certainly going to think twice. Samantha, good to see you. Truthfully, what they say is that the people who do that kind of crime, they'll never stop anyway. They never stop. They continue to reoffend and they continue to reoffend because it's bad wiring, right? If you're listening to the sound of my voice and you are and you find men attractive, you are attracted to men, right? That's what arouses you. If I said to you tonight, you're no longer allowed to be attracted to men, you need to start being attracted to something else, you would say to me, well, it doesn't work like that. And I am afraid that people with bad wiring who find themselves attracted to kids are that way. I don't think that they can be cured. I'm sorry. I don't think that they can be cured. Although JD DeLay seems to think a wood chipper is the cure for that. And I tell you what, it's hard to argue that point. It probably does cure that, honestly. I used to work for Orkin. Rats can chew through concrete and swim up toilets. There's a reason they'll be here forever. They can swim up toilets. That's the scariest thing I've ever heard. I'll tell you what. I know that in the federal system, you could flush one down the toilet. It would not give it a problem at all. They make federal toilets in such a way that I promise you, they don't get stuffed up real easy. And if they do, they know that you did something really stupid. Like you tried to stuff it up because it's really, really hard to. Did I see that Jodi Arias is selling her art from an Arizona prison? I did not know that. What does cerebral palsy look like? This is not something I've heard. However, I'm not surprised. And there's no, if you want to look up people who are selling their art online, there's so many different forums out there for people like her. And there are a lot of people who gain some notoriety that will make art and sell it so that they can eat, buy coffee, things like that. I know tomorrow is not so good anniversary, paying extra hard for peace. Thank you for helping me and so many others. You're loved and appreciated. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're incredibly kind, Karen. I mean that. Thank you. yeah, I would. I think that regardless of what you guys believe in, right? If you believe in anything, it would be really nice if we all just started thinking about praying and pulling for pieces. It'd be a really good thing. You say Nancy Grace did a show on Jodi Arias last night. You know what? I have not seen her. I have not seen that, but I would be interested too. At some point, I'm going to tell you a prediction right now. At some point, that woman and I are going to end up on a panel together talking. Nancy Grace and I. It has to happen. And the reason that it has to happen is that one of the people that she has hated more than anybody else on planet Earth was Officer Drew Peterson. And the feeling was mutual. Officer Drew Peterson hates her more than anybody else on earth. He used to like to talk about it often. And I'd love to be able to tell her all kinds of stuff about him that she doesn't know, because I really have got dirt on that cat. And I sent her an email a long time ago, long time ago, and said, you know what? I'd love to come on and tell you what I know about the guy, because I promise you I know more about that case than anyone else. I mean, he was slipping like a big dog, you know. He was at the prison he was at for medical reasons, and he was slipping. I mean, he was slipping. He was getting to the point where he would say stupid stuff. Do they not have workable cell phone signal blockers they could use at such facilities? They sure do. They sure do. Do you know why they don't? Huh? For real. Because what they would rather do is listen in. And there have been cases you would not believe where they allowed somebody to have a cell phone, right, for 6 to 8 months, and just calling people and setting stuff up and cutting deals and doing all of this. And then you know what happens? They RICO you, right? Now all those people you were calling on the street, and all of those people that were sending money, and all those people that were smuggling stuff in, you're all going to get busted on the same deal. RICO ain't no joke. You know something? Jodi Arias is fascinating. I'm sorry, I could watch Jodi Arias. She's fascinating. She is. She's obviously super, super mentally, challenged. But I'm mentally ill. A lot of us are mentally ill. She really went over the edge. But some of just the bizarre stuff. You remember her doing the handstand? You remember her going through the trash can? Like, Jodi Arias just did some stuff, and not to mention the fact that she could roll out with a new story as if the previous one had never happened, right? Yeah, I'm telling you, Kathy, you want to talk about somebody that was manipulative. I mean, she really was something else. Um, I'm telling you, the one thing that her eyes are mesmerizing. One of the things that I find amazing, people, with all of this that's going on, is that we're not seeing pictures of Diddy, that we're not seeing IDs. The feds, this is clamped down like nothing you've ever seen. For real. Whoever they've got working the units, right? The PC unit that he's in, these people are amazing. They're amazing. Any other prison, man. Robin Miner says, I watched the entire Jodi Arias case. She's terrifying as all get out. Isn't she? Isn't she really, though? Oh, Shannon Smith. Have you seen YouTubers or have you heard YouTubers? Shannon Smith says, I've seen YouTubers that can just roll out with some crazy stories and then contradict themselves in the next sentence. It happens. It happens often. I think more often than not, like the ones that are really bad. I don't think it's like right now. I'm seeing the worst I've ever seen on YouTube in terms of misinformation and disinformation. Right? It's staggering. But you're not seeing people. It's not. You're seeing far fewer human beings who are coming on and doing these crazy misinformation campaigns. Look at the thumbnails on the automated channels 3 minutes ago, right? And then they're going to tell you that they've got a video, and on that video is, pick anybody you want, Usher, Bieber, whatever. And by reading the thumbnail, you will believe you're about to see a video, right? Not only will they not deliver on the clickbait, they won't even reference it. They'll take a 3-minute video or a 4-minute video and loop it and do it in like 3 different loops, but there's just 7 or 8 sentences put together in different loops. It's absolutely incredible. Someone said to me this morning, we were talking about this whole phenomenon, this whole P. Diddy phenomenon, and someone said, P. Diddy is making more silver play buttons, right, than anything that's ever come down the pike. And there's a lot of truth to that, right? A lot of truth to that. The book Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon about the 60s musicians tied to intelligence and other abuse of culty. Wild Scenes Inside the Canyon. I have not heard of that, and that bums me out. For real, because that absolutely sounds like the kind of book I would love. For real. So thank you, Kiki. I am going to check that out. I really am. Cinderella's glass slipper is lurking from the back deck while babysitting one of her 5 dogs that had surgery yesterday. Well, I hope your doggy is feeling better. I know that Quibs' kitty just had surgery as well. Your favorite, Kathy says, my favorite thumbnail was Oprah blindfolded and in handcuffs with Diddy and Kanye on each side of her. Thank you. Right? If I had a microphone, I would drop it. That's exactly what I'm talking about, right? At this point, it's how much BS can you throw up there and hope that people stick around for it. But I'm pretty happy with honestly, I'm pretty happy that we're seeing, I think we're seeing this develop YouTubers into smarter consumers. Yeah? You know what I'm saying? I think that this is really different than a lot of the stuff in the past. There's so much BS that is directly in your face that we can, I think that this is going to, hey, Russ, good to see you, brother. I think that this is going to change us fundamentally with how we watch true crime. I think it's going to fundamentally change how we look at rape, how we look at rock and roll, how we look at hopefully all of this, right? For real. Hopefully all of this. Interesting. A lot of people who spread BS are experts who go outside of their field of knowledge and behave like they are still firmly inside. I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. And you know what? It has to happen because the personalities that the people get really used to, right? The personalities that you get very used to going to see for your information, find themselves dealing with, stuff that is so far out of their, that they're saying 2-pack, and you're going, oh, a lot of times just listening to some of the people report on this stuff is difficult. Renee B, good to see you. I don't profess to be an expert on the East Coast and West Coast, wars of the early days of Bad Boy Records. I'll tell you what, my boy has actually been a font of research for me, because that really was his music. That was his time. You know what I mean? I'm old, people. I promise you. By the time Diddy came around, Jeremy Shelton says, is Bon Jovi still wanted, dead or alive, or did the statutes of limitations run out on that one? You know what? I'm going to use that. I like that. That's funny. That is funny. And Shannon Smith, you're right. Spanx is awesome. I love him as well. People, I'm going to make some predictions. Are you ready? Are you ready? When the doors got kicked in March, in April, in May, in June, even July, a bunch of yous, A bunch of yous were saying the same thing, which was they're not going to charge him. You know, look at how long this has been going on. They're burying the evidence. This is going to be another Epstein. And I said, trust me, man, the indictments are coming, right? The grand juries are meeting. I promise you, right, that a lot of people right now are going, why aren't we seeing him charged with dope? Why aren't we seeing more people in his circle getting charged? Why aren't we seeing his associates, his assistants, the people who helped clean up? Okay. Allegedly, his bodyguards have not only been there for a couple of these, they've participated in a few, right? Allegedly, some of them violently, just horrific stories, right? Okay, well, if they watched it happen, right? Let's just talk about the Mark Echo guy. Let's assume that the Mark Echo guy is telling the truth, right? Allegedly, this happened in a stock room at a Macy's, right? With 3 bodyguards and Sean Combs, right? So all of those bodyguards need to go to prison with Sean Combs. If they were there watching this guy violate a dude's throat, right? Literally as backup to make sure that he could get away with it. If allegedly that really did happen, then those people need to go away too. And I know that a bunch of us are going, why are we not seeing massive indictments? Why are we not seeing perp walks? Because right now, the government is flipping people. I promise you, right? Sorry, Russ. Russ sent me a thing the other day that said, damn you. He said that allegedly crap has been in my head all day long. He said, I can hear your voice. Thoughts and prayers for Marissa Robertson's daughter. Her due date was Monday, and her blood pressure is going up. Yeah, can we get some thoughts and prayers for Marissa Robertson's daughter? Thank you, people. Appreciate you. Yeah, see, this is it, right? Kathy says, oh, God, I heard this story. Did he beat him with a pew-pew first, right? The Macy's gave Diddy a clothing deal knowing what happened, right? And in the process, told some people at Mark Echo, you got to get rid of this dude. Like, it's not enough that he's got to go. You got to get rid of him. Allegedly, that's what happened. If that's the case, how are those people not being charged, right? Now, I said early on, if you're just joining us, I said early on, we're not going to see civil cases going at the same time as a criminal case. Certainly not a federal case, right? Which is going to trump everything. But we're not going to see those cases. But the prosecution kind of has to look at these now, don't they? I mean, sorry, but here we go. Right? Allegedly, we have the first underage person who says, I got picked up, I got taken to a party, and was told to drop my trousers by Diddy. Right? This is how you're going to show that we can trust you. This is how you become part of the crew. This is how you break into the business. This is the right. This is the secret handshake. I'll pass. Check out this waiter job. See how that works. See how that works out first. Maybe the whole rap star thing isn't for me. You know, it's pretty awful. Flippity flip. Exactly. We're going to see a lot of people flipping. Hey, totally Jersey. That's a good looking kitty. Welcome to the boat. Really good looking kitty. I'll be honest, people. I could not, hey, brown spotted eagle, I could not name 5 Diddy songs if my life depended on it. I think he did a song called All About the Benjamins, right? I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he did a song called All About the Benjamins. Other than that, it's just not my kind of, and I'm not bad mouthing it. It's just, we come along, I think, there are people who continue to sort of evolve with music. And then there are people who get trapped in an era. You know what I'm saying? I'm trapped. I promise you. I'm trapped. Music stopped for me at about 1990, 1991. After Sublime, I don't know that I listened to anybody after Sublime. It was kind of weird, but it's I never got into to the hip hop. Allegedly. That kitty is Mayday Maxie, the Manx of the house. I love it. Mayday Maxie. You got to love that name. And I love cats, people. That's not for show. I love cats. Can they go after money that is clearly hiding with his son and his mother? I'll tell you something. Make no mistake right now. There is right now there are forensic auditors and people like that who are crawling all over Bad Boy, all over Sean Combs. They are trying to find where all of the money is hidden because there's a lot hidden. Trust me, right? Diageo says they paid him $1 billion. Paid him $1 billion. Now, the most he was ever worth, according to Forbes magazine, on the cover of Forbes magazine. Anyway, 740 million, I believe, right, is what Forbes said he was worth. If he got paid $1 billion by Diageo, right? So did he spend 300 million on something that we don't know about, right? Or did maybe he siphon $300 million off to islands? You know what else is funny? They talk about his philanthropy. He donated, I think, $1 million or something to Howard University. I think it was Howard. It was one of the traditionally all black colleges, but he made a big speech and said, I'm going to donate $1 million. And he was given an honorary degree or whatever. And he stiffed him. He made the big speech about giving him $1 million, right? They wrote the article about giving him $1 million. But when they were when they were taking back the honorary degree, they made a point of mentioning that we never got the $1 million. If we did, we'd send it back, but you never paid it. The feds are really good at at finding hidden money. Oh, they're good at it. Yeah, the Sting song, Every Breath You Take, you guys have probably already heard this, but he didn't get permission before he used that in the Biggie tribute, right? So he's had to cut a deal where he pays Sting $2,000 a day forever. Right? Kiki says philanthropy is mostly money laundering and tax shelters. Yeah, but I don't have a problem when they're actually doing it, right? I don't care why somebody builds a hospital for kids that were burned. If they're doing it to ditch taxes, or they're doing it because they got a big heart, or they're doing it, I don't really care. But if somebody says they're going to build a hospital just so that their reputation can catch a ball swing, and then they decide that they're not going to follow through with that, I don't have a lot of respect for that, right? That's just downright sleazy. And he's done this more than once. When they talk, and his lawyer's got huevos, right? Because his lawyer talks about how this man has done such philanthropic things over the course. No, he has not, right? No, he hasn't. Find it, because it's all BS. Oh, man. Oh, man, does that sound good, huh? Oh, man, does that sound good? I think the 2,000 a day, I've seen him interviewed, and he just giggled about it. You know, they said, is it true that you have to, that Diddy's got to pay you $2,000 a day? He went, yeah, until I die. You know, I mean, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. You know, good for Sting, says Kathy. And I agree, right? I wouldn't be surprised if he donated it to charity. Who knows? Or maybe he donates it to MS, right? Myself. Who knows? But I would imagine that no matter what's happening, Sting's probably getting a good laugh out of the fact that the guy made a song out of your hit record without mentioning he was going to do it. Again, I've said so many times throughout this that I think this guy was working for somebody, because I don't think he's as bright as the rest of the world says he is. If this is your industry, how do you grab every breath you take and use it without thinking, you know what? I wonder if Sting's going to get pissed about this. Honestly, this is the mogul. This is the genius producer. Yeah, I cry BS, man. I cry BS. To me, I don't see it. I know he got super rich. Right? But I don't see the guy as all that bright. Maybe I'm wrong. A Tribe Called Duff says Sting is a poop. He dissed Billy Connolly of Live TV as a Scot. That definitely does not fly with me. Well, A Tribe Called Duff is a Scot. So you learn something new every day. I thought she was from New Jersey. I'm never good at this. Every time, like, I look at somebody and I go, I bet, you get this thing in your head. You see the names come by. So I'm thinking to myself, Tribe Called Duff, Jersey, maybe Connecticut. Yeah. As a Scot, I'm not even close. Not even close. That's all right. Oh yeah, Kiki. Yeah, the foundations. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And the I'll throw one out. Just since you mentioned it as well, the Clinton Foundation is literally amazing. Do a little deep dive on that sometime, and take a look at how much money that they brought in and what they did with it. Right? They put up like it was either 4 or 6 mobile homes. Really disgusting stuff, man. Really disgusting stuff. What they've done is profited hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know, man. They're a crime family, if you ask me. And they're not running for president, so don't bust my chops. But I agree wholeheartedly that's a crime family. There's just too much smoke. Got to be some fire. Meep says he doesn't look intelligent. You know what? I never thought he did either. Incarnasoul says Vanilla Ice did the same thing with the bass line from Under Pressure. Boy, dun 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 dun. I mean, note for note, right? Dun 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 dun. And every time that song comes on, too, like when it first comes on, you're waiting for the stop, collaborate, and listen. And if you don't get that, you got Queen. It's a direct ripoff, to be sure. It's cheaper to pay the permission for someone's music. I just had to for my Halloween video. It's cheaper than being sued. Believe it or not, it's come up on the boat before. And sometimes you will. I'll film something, and there'll be a song on a radio in the background, and I will get a little note that says you can take down your video, or you can pay whoever's song happened to be playing. Right? If you want to pay the artist, you can leave it up, and I usually just pay the artist, because then you can say cool stuff like, yeah, I'm partners with Ozzy. You know what I mean? You can BS your friends, and it's still kind of almost true, right? P. Diddy got rich blackmailing people. Yeah, because he had pictures of them or videos of them being sodomized in a lot of cases, doing things sexually that probably didn't go with their normal orientation, right? And asking someone to do something outside of their normal sexual orientation as an initiation, especially for men, this is something that most men would consider wildly degrading, right? And as something most men would say, yeah, I'm not doing this, right? It's not something I'm going to do. But it seems like, boy, there was a lot of it going on. A Tribe Called Duff says, I lived in Boston, Oklahoma, and San Diego for many years. Well, I've lived in Boston. San Diego is lovely, but you lived in Boston and San Diego. Who else lived in Boston and San Diego? It's Whitey Bulger's trip, except I don't think he hit Oklahoma, but you're on the following Whitey across the country. What are my thoughts on J-Lo, Beyonce, and Jay-Z? Well, I think that there's a lot of smoke around Sean Carter and his wife, Beyonce. I think that there's a lot of smoke around them. And there's a lot of stuff. I mean, say what you will, right? Because these are all theories, right? Allegedly kind of stuff. But I'll tell you what, out of his own mouth, how old was he when he started dating the people he was around, right? If you listen to him, he'll slip up and tell you the truth, right? He'll slip up and tell you that these girls were 16 when he started spending quality time with them. He also seemed to be one of the last men on planet Earth right? To not say, yeah, there's something seriously wrong with R. Kelly, right? Everybody said R. Kelly's a dirtbag except Sean Carter. For whatever reason, he held out and held out and held out. Maybe it's because he's also very fond of women who are a lot younger than him. So I think that there's some smoke there. And as far as J-Lo goes, oh, we know what's up with J-Lo, right? There is no question we know what's up with J-Lo. At the end of the 90s, nightclub shooting, right, that she was involved with. How involved? Well, she got arrested, right? She got arrested and immediately released, but she got arrested. That's usually a sign that you were probably close enough to the action that you shouldn't have been. Now, allegedly, she carried the piece into the nightclub and then again out of the nightclub, right? That would make you an accessory after the fact to anything that happened, right? And there's a woman out there with a fragment of bullet in her face who said she looked at Mr. Combs, right? Not Shine Barrow. She said she saw Diddy like that, right? Now, I'll tell you something. Whether you're a crim or this is not something you're going to forget. I promise you. You're staring down the barrel of something. You're going to remember it. And if that barrel went off, I promise, that moment is etched in that woman's mind for eternity. When she got to the hospital that day, she said, Puffy did this. She has never backed off of that story. That's it. Right? This dude, I got shot by Sean Combs. I don't know what you're talking about with Shine. I got shot by Sean Combs. Well, how did that go away? Right? Do you think they were that smooth? I don't know, man. I'm kind of the firm belief that at that time, they may have cut a deal right then and there with that agency, you know, the one with the three initials, forever bothering Italians, right? FBI. Everybody allegedly, he was a snitch for the FBI. You've heard this, right? You've heard it on this channel. Allegedly, he was a snitch for the FBI. Well, that would have been a good time to cut a deal, wouldn't it? When he delivered to them, and this is the accusation, by the way, when he delivered to them their case, here it is, Shine Barrows, right? Stuff written out. Gene Deal, right, alleges that they basically handed over the case to the prosecution, who then prosecuted Shine. That's messed up. If what is alleged is true, that is messed up. There's nothing wrong with Barry Manilow. Don't pick on Barry Manilow. You lived on L Street in Southie and in Dorchester. Good times. San Diego, not so good. Lost all belongings in a wildfire. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, the Dorchester. On L Street in Southie. Southie is a place that if you've never experienced, you really need to. I spent some time in Southie at a business acquaintance in South Boston. All bad, no bueno. All right, people, this is a wrap. I think I've been doing this about long enough. And besides, my friend is going live on Relatable Reese, and I'm actually going to go over there and watch it. I really dig her stuff. I'm not smart enough to take the whole crowd, or I would. But if you stop by Relatable Reese, right, you can tell her that Tommy sent you. You know what? It's funny you say that. You should head over right now to Relatable Reese. These are the kind of things that my ex is a Scientologist. I have talked about that. There's many videos of me doing that. All right, people, I will see you on the next one. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody and head on over there to Relatable Reese. Have a good day. Bye-bye.